Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Duthie Aquatics. We survived the storm. Thankfully, it just turned out to be a over glorified wet fart for us, so no trees down or anything for us, which is good. So nothing was damaged. The only thing that I lost was out of this pond here was one large female swordtail jumped out. Apart from that, that was all that I lost. So the holes I drilled in the sides of the tubs actually did work, which shocked me because we got inundated with a huge amount of rain. The only drawback with that since then is the aphids have become very active, and they're plaguing my water lilies, so I'm going to have to sort them out. Guppies are eating ones that fall into the ponds, but they're still just being a pain in the backside. But I had one of my subscribers, Ron, who's out in Ipswich. He sent me a message on Instagram just asking what I do with my ponds in winter, because he wants to keep breeding stuff and doing line bred guppies as well, and they're similar-ish temperatures, Gold Coast and Ipswich. I think Ipswich actually does get colder than the Gold Coast, but for the time being, the pond here is still sitting in the just below the mid-20s, so it is plenty warm enough for the guppies. I am running out of time to get them inside. I just need to finish the fish room first, but large bodies of water hold the temperature a lot better than smaller bodies of water, so these ones don't hold the temperature as well as these do. The trick is these ones are on a north facing wall, so they're in the full sun all year round, and they have brickwork around them and underneath them, so that does help capture some of the heat in there. If you wanted to take it a step further, you could put framework around your tubs and put, say, like expansion foam in there, or even believe it or not, if it's not against your house, because you don't do this if it's against your house, if you had your tubs in the center like that, you can frame them up and put in mulch around them, like if you've got a bark mulch or something, because as mulch decomposes, the bacteria that's in there will generate heat, and that will warm your tubs around the outside. I don't know if you're somewhere where it does snow, you'd need a greenhouse or something like that to keep your fish outside. But even then, you'd need to heat the greenhouse some way to keep the fish alive, because obviously if you're in an area where it does snow, it's going to be extremely cold. I did see one interesting way that people were heating their greenhouses in China. They were actually using Bitcoin miners in their greenhouses to actually generate the heat and mine the Bitcoins for the money to pay for the the power of actually heating the greenhouse. So that was a very inventive way of doing it. I don't know how practical that would be in a country where power isn't that cheap. In Australia, power is ridiculously expensive for some stupid reason. Even with a 16 kilowatt solar system on our roof, we're still paying stupid amounts of power. So if you're going to try and keep guppies and mollies, swordtails are fine, they're tough as nails, they'll survive outside in Ipswich and Queensland, no problems. But if you're going to, say, keep guppies and mollies, which need to be a little bit warmer, outside all year round, and you're worried that it's going to get too cold, there's a couple ways you can do it. So just like I said before, frame up your tubs, and you can have mulch in there, and as it decomposes, they'll help warm up around the tubs as well. The other way you can do it is you can still frame them up and use the silver. I'm going to draw a blank here. It's like the thermal sheeting that they use to keep food hot and cold. The insulation, it's the name of it is just escaping me at this point, I'm sorry, but essentially use that, wrap it around your tubs. That will help stabilize temperature as well. Or again, you can frame them up and you can put expansion foam in there, because that's acting as an insulation as well. The other way you can do it, because a lot of the temperature will escape from a cooling evaporation. If the wind's blowing over the water, that will suck out some of the heat as well. So if you get a clear core flute, you can put that over there. If you've got a wooden frame, it's a lot easier because you can actually put some hinges on the wooden frame so it like opens out like that, and you can put the core flue around and then close it, keep it clamped in there. That will work really well to create a mini greenhouse just for your tub, so you can keep your fish outside for longer, if not all year, depending on where you're located. The only drawback with that is if you've got plants that are breaking the surface like this, water lilies, a lotus, or anything like that, the humidity will start to rot the leaves, and they won't like that. If you've got submerged plants like Euvalicineria that's in this pond over there, they're not going to care. That'll be absolutely fine. You can do that. Pearlweed, all those other ones that are able to remain underwater, they'll all be fine. It's just your floating plants, your duckweed, your Azolla, your red root floaters, Amazon frogbit, all those ones, they will hate being in the really high humidity. It will rot them. They'll most likely also get parasites such as mealybug, which shockingly I don't think I've got any in my garden at the moment for once that I could show you, but they're usually hiding in like stems and stuff, a plant like that, and they look kind of like a fluffy sort of cotton woolly bug. They're very similar to scale, so if you know what scale is, they're a very similar pest to that. So that's the other way to do it. So full sun position, either bricks around your ponds or frame them up with wood, have something in there to insulate it or generate heat, core flute over the top, which stops a lot of the temperature coming out, and then very important, being in a full sun position. If you've got only a couple tubs or a patio pond and you're in somewhere where you're not going to get the benefit of having the sun heat your ponds for you, if you've got an outdoor power supply such as that, but you don't have a cover from a patio, you can get, sorry about the pigsty in here, get this out of the way, get this out of the way. So one of these out as an example, and I'll get one of these out. So these are power boxes. So this one is where you join. So if you're joining your heater or a power bank to there, so you put your extension cord cable goes in that one side, and then your power board cable or your heater end goes in here. Clamp it up, close it off, and that's watertight, and that will, believe it or not, even though this is clear plastic, this is UV rated, so it will last a very long time, and that will stop moisture from getting in there, so you can have your electricals outside. Even though this is like waterproof, I still have them elevated, so instead of sitting on the ground like that, even just like a milk crate or a bucket or something, I elevate a brick or something just so it's not sitting on the ground. That'll protect water from getting in there. If you need to heat a few tubs, or you want to run, say, some lighting around a pond as well as heating it, one of these works just amazing. So this is my power board that I use in here. When I'm not in use, it goes here, but when it is in use, this outlet goes just out of one of these rubber sealed things, and then either go out and join into one of them, or I bring the extension cord in to here, seal it off, plug it in, and then these ones go out from there to have the lights or heaters or whatever running out to there. Again, close it up, waterproof. It's UV rated, but as you can see, the Australian sun does perish these still, but this is $20. This one I think was $30 from Bunnings. And for 20 bucks, you can't go wrong. And again, just get this. It sits on a milk crate. I'd obviously have it, say, there, and it will heat a couple of these tubs if I needed to. Now, if you did that and you had the core flue over the top, that's going to be the maximum efficiency way of heating your tub, or actually the maximum efficiency would be to frame it up and have insulation around there, but having a lid on there with the heater is going to save you a lot of power, because I know there's some people in the southern states of Australia that still have guppy ponds outside, and they just chuck a 200 watt heater or 400 watt heater, whatever they want for whatever size tub they've got, into there. If they've just got a core flute lid for winter. You can slide it if you just make an insert, or if you framed it up nicely, and then you can feed your fish and everything, no problem like that. So they're very easy, cost-effective ways of keeping fish outside all year. If you are going to use a heater out in your ponds for winter, if you're worried about the really cold snaps that we can get, I would set the heater to about 22 degrees. Even a small heater goes a long way, especially if you've covered over your pond. Just remember though, the smaller your heater for the volume of water, the more it's going to struggle to keep it up at that temperature, and that's when you can have heaters fail, and then they just like boil your fish because they're just doing nothing but cranking out the heat. So yeah, they can fail, just keep that in mind. So if you've got a large enough heater for the appropriate size water, have it set to 22 degrees. You'll be laughing all winter, because if you have it set higher than that, you're just going to be paying stupid amounts of money for power. I think for all of my tubs last year heating them, I was looking about $1,000 a month for heating. Was that right? $1,000 a month? No, it was $400 a month. It was $400 a month just in heating these tubs with a 200 watt heater, because I only had it set to 22. So what I found was, obviously with these bodies of water, because you're well over 200 liters of water in these tubs, having it set at 22, it made like warm spots. So say I had the heater in this corner, it made a warm spot here. At night, fish did congregate to there. I didn't lose any fish. As the water got too cold, especially for guppies, the telltale sign that the guppies are struggling, you look at the males and you'll see the tails on the males, instead of being flared out like that, they start clamping and then drooping. That's a sign that they're starting to struggle, because as they get too cold, their immune system will start to fail and they become more susceptible to things like fungus. So having them, that heater in here did prevent that, because there was some ponds that I had to wait for the heaters to arrive. I did just get them in time, but by the time the male guppies started showing symptoms of stress and getting fungus like that, even after adding the heater and they're eating and more active and stuff, their tails never did actually recover. And I was unable to sell those males. They just kind of had to live out their lives. Luckily, it really only affected the older males. So they're not really the best for selling anyway, but the younger fish and the females actually were quite good with the minimal amount of heat in there. So yeah, it's pretty easy to keep your fish outside all year, especially if you're in Queensland. If you're in some of the southern states, you're probably going to need to do a bit more trial and error than what I've had to do here. I think that's pretty much covers how I look after my fish. Just remembering bigger bodies of water hold temperature better. The best pond that I've actually ever had for keeping tropical fish in outside is this one. So this is a cement pond. It's got a heap of hair algae in here at the moment, so to clear that out so that the poor mollies can swim around. But this one being a concrete pond, it holds the temperature way better than anything else, because obviously it's insulated naturally from being thicker ceramics, and then the sun being on there, it's able to absorb and warm up a lot better than a white plastic tub like that will. So you don't have the heat draining out from the sides either, so if you touch it, it'll be like a lot colder in winter. So that's pretty much it. It's really simple, if I'm honest. You just gotta have some preparation. These ones I'll have to move in probably first from all the fish that are outside. Even though this is a full sun area, it doesn't get the sun till much later in the day, because this shed here blocks a lot of the sun getting here, so it only really gets the midday sun. And then as the sun goes over there, these trees kind of filter out the light again, so this one will get colder faster as well. And being such a low pond as well, it's a decent volume of water, but it's being so low and broad at the surface, it will lose heat a lot faster, especially if there's a slight breeze. The swordtail's gone absolutely crazy though. Look at them all. These guys, I think I could chuck in some ice bricks and they still wouldn't care. Swordtails are way tougher than I think people give them credit for. But again, this changes season, so actually it's probably a good point to make too. So changes of seasons, I find, is when hair algae blooms start, and then as things get more settled, the plants have got their new growth habit or whatever for winter. Things equal out, but hair algae, so you can see these fish kind of look like they're shaking and stuff. It could be stress, but it's actually hair algae that's growing in here, so I'm going to have to sort all this out. One of the best ways to get hair algae out if they're in a pond like this is if you have a dustpan broom. Just have a dedicated dustpan broom for your fish ponds. It's good for cleaning them out if you're moving the tubs around, but also the bristles on the broom is great for getting all the hair algae caught in amongst it to get it out of the pond. But doing that saves a lot of stress for the fish. So hair algae is a double-edged sword. It's great for fry to hide and shrimp to graze on, but you could have too much in there and it acts like a trawling net for the fish. So you can see how very easy it would be for this to just take out a whole bunch of fish. So yeah, hair algae is one thing to keep an eye on. The other thing I do notice is change of season. It's had a bit of a dieback, but a zola. So this is a zola here. It's a floating plant. It grows into like a boom bust cycle. So it will grow absolutely crazy, release a bunch of spores, die back, and then all the spores start taking off again. And it will choke out your pond very quickly. That does two things. The heat doesn't penetrate in from the sun to the pond, so it gets cooler a lot faster, as well as it stops a lot of the oxygen getting in for gas exchange. So it's good for stopping mosquitoes and stuff getting into bodies of water. But if you've got tropical fish outside, it's a good way you can kill them with choking out the air, as well as getting too cold. I've even had my honey blue eyes previously in this pond. It was a few years ago. The zola choked out that pond, and there was no air and light getting into the pond. All of my honey blue eyes ended up dying, even though they're actually endemic to the area where I live. They couldn't handle that that temperature swing being so low, with all the oxygen being choked out from the lack of gas exchange. The rice fish you don't have to worry about at all. These guys can go on the refrigerator, so they're absolutely fine. So if you've got rice fish, the only problem with the rice fish is they won't breed in winter when it's too cold. They also struggle to breed when it's too hot as well. So they're kind of like a Goldilocks fish. If you don't have them at the right temperature, you're not really going to get a lot of breeding out of them. These guys are nearly at the retirement age because they're not really putting on weight when I feed them. But they're quite a few years old. The biggest one, which was like my finger size, it did pass away recently. But these ones are all raising up. I don't think there'll be any eggs in here. No, it doesn't look like it. So the rice fish eggs are being raided because I put the water lily in here for cover. There's some quite large pond snails in here, and they're eating all the rice fish eggs, which is quite unfortunate. So I will have to go through and purge all of these tubs of snails this winter, and I'll bring the rice fish inside to breed them inside instead. If I can find it, these ones are the Kohaku lame rice fish, and there's one really cute short-bodied one in here. If it wants to come out, that one right there. Come on, get out of the glare. How tiny is it? Little, almost balloon body like compared to these ones. When the light's on them, you can see the shining from the scales shows so much better. Just a couple of the platinum ones that are in here. So this is exactly what I was talking about. So this is the zola, and it started to choke out this pond, so it's going to have to just remove a heap of these. So that's the only problem with a Zola being in a fish pond. It's very easy to choke out your pond because even overnight it can just have an explosion. And again, I've got honey blue eyes in here that Nick from Keeping Fish Simple gave me when I was up at his store a few months ago. So I'd be very upset if they die. See if we can see them. They should have the full adult colours because he gave them to me just before they were quite mature. And he said I might need to look for some males because he believed he only gave me 3 females, but it actually turned out to be the perfect trio, and it was 1 male and 2 females. They're probably all hiding at the other end. Your white cloud minnows, whether it be golden clouds or your traditional white clouds, they're fine. They don't need to be worried about too much because they can live in your refrigerator. Some more rice fish that Nick just did a tour through his place. Glenn, my really good friend, my Heng Dai, he has given me some of these. These are the chrysanthemum rice fish that I think are his culls, but they still have spectacular colour when I look at them. And then I've got the green lame rice fish in here, if they will be so kind as to show themselves. But mosaic plants are great for breeding any of your pseudomoguls. Oh yeah, they're there. The glare, no, you're ruining my shot. You can see the lame, the green on them. How nice are they? These are his culls. He doesn't have enough room to start line breeding these ones. So he's given them to me. Condition is I give him as many babies as he wants, and I think that's a pretty generous terms. So down here, so this is the old goldfish pond. Your comets are pretty much fine all year, but if you have, like I do, some fantails, I'm hoping the baby will come out because I've got a really nice little baby fantail that I'd like to show off. That's a nymph, so that's a cross. So if you've got fantails, you can have them outside all year, but again, I'd really recommend that you've got them in a full sun position where the water's going to be as warm as possible because they're a lot more sensitive than your comets. Comets can really handle the cold, as your fancy type goldfish like your lionheads, your ranchu, your randers, your fantails, and your black moors especially, because they've got such protruding eyes, they don't handle the cold nearly as well, so it's a lot better to bring them inside and just have them outside in the summer. And I don't think the baby's going to cooperate. I'm going to have to rip this pond apart to bring them inside this winter. Oh, there it is. Look how cute it is. So that's a little fantail there. That's a short off. Hooray! So yeah, so I'll have to rip this pond apart to bring in the fantails. Unfortunately, the mother and father didn't do so well. They passed away this summer because this pond, I needed to clear out a lot more plants than what I did. So there's one thing to keep in mind as well if you're tubbing with goldfish. Plants are absolutely essential for them, but at the same time, don't have too many that it chokes out the pond. It will stress out your more round goldfish. Your slender comets and stuff like that, they can get through the weeds, no problem. But with the round body ones that already struggle with swimming, having too many plants like this makes it too hard for them to swim through easily, and they can get caught up on stuff. So just keep that in mind as well. So I don't know what I'm going to call this video. I just kind of rambled on a bit, but I needed to make a video this week as well. So I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, because I could very easily have forgotten something, just ask away. You can message me on Instagram. If I'm at my slave job, it'll take me a while to get back to you, but I will. And we'll go from there. Have a good one.